In the quiet suburbs, John and Mary lived what many would call the perfect life. Their home stood as a picture of normalcy: a neatly trimmed lawn, a white picket fence, and a small boy named Harry who was the light of their world. To neighbors, they were the model family, kind, warm, and unshakably close. Yet, behind the facade of smiles and small talk, shadows began to creep into their marriage. John's late nights and secretive phone calls left Mary unsettled. Though she brushed it aside, her heart whispered that something was wrong. Little did she know, this unease was the first crack in a perfect image. An image that would soon shatter beyond repair. It was a cold morning when Mary's screams pierced the silence. Harry's bed was empty. His window was ajar, the curtains dancing in the chill. Panic surged as she tore through the house, calling his name over and over. John dialed 911, his voice strangely steady. Within minutes, police cars lined the street, their sirens echoing in the neighborhood. What began as an ordinary day spiraled into every parent's nightmare: a missing child. The community rallied, hearts breaking for Mary as she clung to hope. But to investigators, something felt off. The scene was too quiet, too neat, and the father's calmness too unnatural. A mystery had begun, one that would grip not just the family but the entire world. News spread like wildfire. Harry's disappearance exploded across television screens, front-page headlines, and social media feeds. Search parties swarmed forests, rivers, and fields. Volunteers carried flashlights, chanting his name deep into the night. Hashtags trended globally. Prayers poured in, and strangers clung to hope for a child they had never met. To the public, John and Mary became the grieving parents, symbols of heartbreak and resilience. Yet, detectives studying John's demeanor began to take note. While Mary's grief was raw and uncontrollable, John's words during interviews seemed rehearsed, his eyes empty, his tone calculated. And for those watching closely, something didn't add up. As weeks passed, Mary's world crumbled. She refused to eat, struggled to sleep, and lived in a haze of despair. Every night she replayed Harry's laughter in her mind, clinging to memories as though they might bring him back. John, however, carried himself differently. He insisted on television appearances, carefully choosing his words as he urged the public to keep searching. Yet, to Mary, his composure didn't feel like strength. It felt like distance. He was detached, disconnected from the loss they shared. She tried convincing herself it was just grief taking different shapes. But deep down, a chilling thought lingered in her mind. Was John hiding something? Or worse, was he capable of it? Detectives, desperate for leads, turned their focus on John's life. What they uncovered sent shockwaves through the investigation. John was having an affair with a co-worker. The news hit Mary like a tidal wave. Reporters swarmed, flashing headlines of betrayal alongside Harry's smiling face. For Mary, grief turned to rage. She confronted John, who denied everything with the same stone-cold calm that had haunted her since Harry vanished. But the seed of suspicion had been planted. Could Harry's disappearance be tied to John's secrets? To police, the affair was motive. To Mary, it was a knife in the back. To the world, it was the first chilling sign that the man everyone pitied might, in fact, be a monster hiding in plain sight. 3 months passed with no answers. Mary, consumed by grief, found herself wandering the house at night, searching for signs she had missed. That's when she noticed something odd in the basement. The concrete floor didn't match. One patch looked fresh, darker than the rest. Her stomach twisted as she remembered the foul smell she had once dismissed as dampness. Fear gripped her, but instinct urged her to look closer. She ran her fingers across the cement, her body trembling. Could it be? The thought was too horrific to accept, yet impossible to ignore. The house that once felt safe suddenly became suffocating. Beneath her very feet, Mary feared, lay the answer to the nightmare that had consumed her life. The police returned in force. Floodlights illuminated the basement as investigators dug deeper. Hours later, the unthinkable was confirmed. Harry's body was found buried under layers of cement. Mary collapsed in grief as the truth unraveled. John, the grieving father, was led away in handcuffs. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted, the world stunned at the revelation. The father who begged for help on live television was the killer all along. The perfect family, torn apart from within. As news broke, one question echoed across the globe. How could a father commit the ultimate betrayal? For Mary, there was no question. The man she once loved had murdered the son they shared. In the interrogation room, John's mask finally slipped. He confessed, his words chilling in their detachment. Harry had stumbled upon his secret, catching John with another woman. Terrified that his affair would be exposed, John silenced the only witness, his son. Cold, calculated, merciless. Detectives listened in disbelief as he described the act, not with guilt, but with a disturbing calmness. His marriage, his reputation, these were worth more to him than the life of his own child. The confession spread like wildfire, fueling public outrage. The world watched as John transformed from grieving father to condemned murderer, a man who valued deceit over family, silence over innocence, betrayal over love. Months later, Mary stood over Harry's grave, her tears falling silently. The world had moved on, the case closed, John sentenced to life in prison. But for Mary, time stood still. Her son's laughter echoed in her mind, a ghost in an empty home. She replayed every moment, his final hug, his last words, the day he disappeared. Her silence spoke louder than words. A mother stripped of everything. John's punishment meant nothing. No sentence could undo the horror. No prison could balance the scales. The house where Harry once played now stood as a mausoleum of memories, and Mary, forever haunted, lived with the cruelest truth of all. The monster had been in her home all along.